Hey, seventh grade, here's your video for if you're in my Wednesday, September the 23rd class, or in my Thursday, September 24th class. Here's our video in case you missed class, or for my Wednesday kids because I was at a doctor's appointment. This is the video for what we were doing in class today. So when you guys go into your module, whether it'll say Thursday, if you're in my Thursday class instead of Wednesday, go into your agenda. All right, a couple things here. There'll be a link to this video, obviously, because my Wednesday class is in there, and my Thursday class. Make sure you take your attendance. Complete your notes for your Byzantine Empire review, which is what we're going to go over today. So make sure you get those. I actually assigned this all the way back in September the 11th. That's when I actually assigned this. Some of you guys have already turned it in. Others have not. It's due on Friday, the 25th. Okay. Also, Frere Squares, which I assigned earlier that week. I believe it was like the 7th or 8th of September. Frere Squares are also due on Friday, so please make sure you guys get those in there. And you guys can also see here there is a review because you all will have a test on Tuesday and Wednesday, depending on which class you're in, over the Byzantine Empire. So here is a quiz. You go to joinquizzes.com and use this code. It is active until 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning. All right, so that's when it will no longer be active, is 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning. So make sure you guys are working on that during the weekend. I'll remind you guys over the next couple classes. All right, so that's our agenda for today. Again, please make sure that you guys take your attendance here. All right, and let's go ahead and get into our presentation. So what you guys are going to need to do is I'm going to actually get rid of myself. You guys will still be able to hear me. You have your, oops, don't want that. You guys will have this presentation available to you. I'm going to walk through this presentation. You guys will also have these notes that you guys will need. Wow, that's annoying. So you guys will also have these notes. They're guided notes, and that you will complete as you go through. What you may need to do is minimize your screen. You can do that one of two ways. If you're on a Chromebook, using Alt bracket key will minimize your notes. Okay, so you already got some up right here. Or what you can do, if you're on a Mac or a PC, you can just use the square button here. See, that maximizes it and that minimizes it. All right. That way you can see my video as well as wow. I was kind of hoping to be able to turn that music off, but it wasn't playing earlier and now it's playing. So I'll have to speak over that. So we will work on going through this, okay? So what you'll want to do is minimize your screen so you can fill this out as we go. All right, actually, these are the wrong notes. Here are the notes that we need right there. So again, it's still fill in the blank, all right? So as we go through, you may have to pause it periodically so that you guys can see what's going on. So I'm going to maximize this, and I'm just going to work through this PowerPoint with you guys. Wow. All right, turn down that music. So here are some of our power words. I'm going to go back so you guys can see it. All right, so Byzantine Empire. What's the Byzantine Empire? It's a society that developed in the Eastern Roman Empire after the fall of the West. So it's important that you guys know that the Eastern Roman Empire and the Byzantine Empire are the same thing. Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, rebuilt by Constantine the First. So the fact that he was technically the first tells you there were other Constantines that were the emperor. But he was the first. He was the most important one. Justinian's Code, the legal code of the ancient Romans, codified under Justinian, the basis of modern system of laws. So this had a huge impact. We learned that over the last couple of days. That had a huge impact on European and all of Western culture, okay? Some of those things that he did. The Hagia Sophia is a Christian church in a 6th century masterpiece of the Byzantine architecture. It still stands today. It is now an Islamic mosque, but it is still an important piece of Byzantine architecture. So please make sure that you guys are filling out your notes as we go over this. The aqueduct is a bridge system that was built to move water from one location to another. Basically, it brings water into the city. Rome used it, and so did Constantinople. The Hippodrome, Byzantine stadium for chariot races and horse shows. Stoicism is a philosophical system of the Stoics, following the teaching of the ancient Greeks philosopher Zeno. Probably mispronounced some of those things. Sorry about that. And the Great Schism. And we learned this a great deal about this. This is going to be something that you really do need to know about for your test. It is the official split between the Eastern and Western Christian churches. So that was in 1054 CE. And after that split, we then have the Eastern Orthodox Church based out of Constantinople, and the Roman Catholic Church, which is based out of Rome. A few more power words for you. Mosaic. Art consisted of designs made of pieces of colored stone or glass. Messi is the main street in Constantinople. Orthodox, related to the Christian church that are developed in the Byzantine Empire, not under the authority of the Pope, because remember we learned in the Great Schism that the Pope has complete control of the Roman Catholic Church. And what was that? Whoops, let me go back, sorry. So Roman Catholic. Christian Church of the West, and it ends up dominating control of Western Europe for a number of years, for a couple hundred years, actually. So an emperor is the sovereign or supreme ruler of an empire. The Pope is the Bishop of Rome. That's his other title. Also is the head of the Catholic Church. Icons, a representation of something sacred personage, as Christ or a saint or an angel. Paintings, usually on a wood surface, and venerated itself as sacred. So these are considered sacred images, usually paintings of some sort of religious figures, and they're considered sacred. Theodosius walls that surround and protect the city of Constantinople. So the early Byzantine Empire. The empire was located, and location was crucial to the survival of Roman Emperor Constantine I, who moved the empire from Rome to Byzantium and changed the name to Constantinople. It was located between the southwestern Asia and Europe. It was the perfect location for trade and business. Surviving over 1,100 years, the Byzantine Empire was the longest living empire on the continent of Europe. In 324 AD, Constantine built a large wall to protect the capital city. More walls were built shortly after. So remember, Constantinople is located on a peninsula, and then they built a wall on the western side to help protect it. And that's one of the reasons why it stood for 1,100 years. All right, oops. So Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. Let me go back all right. Constantinople was a magnificent city for trade and business. Merchants from all over Europe ventured to the city to exchange goods and ideas. The capital of the Byzantine Empire was filled with churches, elaborate buildings, and palaces. You can also always make sure that you can stop this video at times so you can stay caught up with your notes. So you should be filling out those notes so you can turn them in because they're worth 50 points. All right. 6 reasons for the fall of Rome. Invasions. The Germanic tribes of barbarian groups successfully sacked Rome. Visigoths in 410 and the Vandals in 455. Military. A major labor shortage due to the plague could have led to the collapse of Rome. Armies were needed more than ever during this time. Financial problems made it difficult to enlist more soldiers. It's hard to enlist soldiers when you can't pay them, people. The plague. Plague may have assisted in finishing off the Roman Empire. Scientists and researchers did uncover the plague Bacterium Y pestis in the grave sites. So scientists now later think that the plague, which the plague happens over a lot throughout history, and it's kind of an interesting thing now because I guess you could say it's kind of happening now with COVID-19 in a way. We're just a lot better at fighting it than they were. Economics. There was a large decline in trade and small industries. Farms production and military enlisted decline from economic collapse. Overexpansion. With such a vast territory to govern, the empire struggled to stay afloat. There weren't enough troops to protect all of the land. And hopefully you guys are just putting in the first words. So invasion, military, plague, economy, overexpansion, and religion. Rome began to decline right after the spread of Christianity. Some believe it rocked the traditional social structure and political affairs. So there are 6 reasons for the fall of Rome. Early Byzantine events timeline. So in 330 AD, Constantine moved the capital to Byzantium and changed its name to Constantinople. 395 AD, the Roman Empire was divided into Eastern and Western empires. 476 AD, the Western Empire falls. Germanic tribes conquer Rome. Remember, that's the fall of the Western Roman Empire. 565, Justinian's reign expands the Byzantine Empire. Remember, we learned in our last class that he expands the empire to cover much of what is the Mediterranean Sea. In 610 AD, Herculius is emperor and wins territory back. So another emperor comes and wins some of that Western territory back. And then from 726 to 843 AD, Leo III bans the use of icons. We learned that, ends up being part of what splits the Catholic Church not the Catholic Church, but the Christian Church during the Great Schism. One of the problems was this use of icons. And in 1054 AD, the Great Schism, which is the split of the Christian Church into 2 churches, the Catholic Church in the West and the Eastern Orthodox in the East. All right, influential leaders. Diocletian from 284 AD to 305. Diocletian is most well known for splitting the Roman Empire into East and Western Empire. He was born from poverty but rose through the military ranks. He was known for his persecuting Christians for not complying with traditional Roman religion practices. And remember, this is the guy that Constantine was part of his court and kind of saw that persecution of Christians. Constantine from 312 AD to 337 AD. Remember, there was a fight after Diocletian died over many years for who was going to be the emperor, and Constantine won out. Constantine was the first Christian Roman emperor ruled after Diocletian. He reunited Rome's empire for a short period of time. He also moved the capital from the east or to the east and built Constantinople after Constantine's power shifted to the east. Okay, so Diocletian divides it, Constantine brings it back together, and then moves his capital to the east. So now we're getting into the Byzantine. So the first two were Roman emperors. This would have been an actual Byzantine emperor. Justinian was most well known for the Golden Age, which was the high point in the Byzantine culture of Byzantium and the Justinian Code of Law. He expanded much of the Roman Empire, retaking Italy and more land around the Mediterranean. Empress Theodora from 527 to 548. Theodora was empress of the Byzantine Empire who ruled alongside her husband Justinian. She was a powerful and intelligent. She advocated rights for women and children and also assisted Justinian at the end to end a riot in Constantinople. Daily life in Constantinople. Constantinople was a glorious capital of Byzantium, and it was the perfect location for trade because of its access to two different seas as well as by land. Constantinople also a center of Christianity and church. Many Byzantines worked in the market or the crop fields. They attended church regularly and went to the hippodrome to view chariot races. That would have been their form of entertainment. The Mises Middle Street. Mises is the main street of Constantinople. It cut through the entire city and featured merchant stands that sold goods from distant corners of Europe, Africa, and Asia. Street entertainers and shoppers also occupied the main street. Victorious emperors marched along Mises during celebrations after returning home from battle and conquest. The Hippodrome. The Hippodrome was a large stadium that held chariot races in Constantinople. Other events held in the Hippodrome included military ceremonies, public executions, and political presentations. Hippodrome comes from the Greek word hippos, meaning horses. Hagia Sophia. Hagia Sophia is considered a world wonder from the medieval ages. During this time period of 395 to 1453, Justinian, the greatest emperor who directed the building of Hagia Sophia as the largest church in the world. It was an impressive architectural advancement during this time period. Today, it still exists as a museum. It is largely famous for its relics, mosaics, and astonishing architecture. Justinian and Theodora. Justinian was born a peasant and was the son of a farmer. His childless uncle became Emperor Justin I, and eventually Justinian became his influential advisor. Theodora was an actress, and Justinian fell in love. When he was crowned, he married Theodora, and she became his most important advisor as well as an empress. Theodora was an advocate for women's rights. Women were able to own land because of her. She also influenced Justinian to expand property and allow divorce rights for women. Justinian's Code. The Code of Justinian's is formerly the Corpus Juris Civilis. It was the collection of laws issued from 529 to 534 that Justinian created with commissioners. Many countries have used his code as the basis for their laws. The Justinian Code was made up of 4 books of law, including laws about Christianity, property, crime, slavery, trade, business, and much more. Christianity. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire, Christianity still remained a strong influence. Over time, Christianity evolved differently in the Byzantine Empire from the West. The differences in Christianity led to a big split in the Christian church known as the Great Schism, and we learned about those things last week or in our last class. The Eastern and Western Christian churches' traditions and ideas about religion clashed. In 730, Byzantine Emperor Leo III banned the use of religious icons. Icons were religious images used in the Eastern Church to pray and worship. Leo III strongly believed that those using icons were worshiping false gods and was idol worship. The Great Schism. The Great Schism of 1054 led to the creation of two new Christian religions, the Eastern Orthodox Church and the Western Roman Catholic Church. In the Western Roman Catholic Church, the Pope claimed authority over everyone, including emperors and kings. In the East, the emperor still ruled over the patriarchs and is the leader of the church. That's one of the big differences that came out of the Great Schism, was who really had control. Legacy of Rome laws. Read the examples below of why each principle is important to have in our legal system. Roman law is the basis for most European legal systems and laws today. Here are 3 principles of the Roman Republic that still are around. Person seen as innocent until proven guilty. We should have heard that one. Accused are allowed to defend themselves in front of a judge. We know that one. And judge weigh all evidence before decisions. These are all part of our current law system. Principle 1. This would prevent someone who didn't commit a crime from serving a life sentence. Principle 2. This prevents someone manipulating or lying about the accused person. And principle 3, a judge must be equal and fair. If the judge focuses only on one piece of evidence, he could miss the big picture. Legacy of Rome, art and mosaics. Mosaic art is made up of tiny pieces of glass or colored tiles. They were very popular in homes, churches, and buildings during the empire. Some mosaic artwork had complex designs containing thousands of tiny stones. Roman mosaics were often a sign of importance and wealth in society. They could be used on ceilings, walls, and even floors. Mosaic art were often had a topic or a theme, such as gladiators in battle, animals, or mythology. Legacy of Rome's philosophy, Stoicism. Stoicism is the first developed in Greece by the philosopher Zeno. The Romans borrowed this idea on the importance of duty, virtue, and other life lessons. Stoicism also focuses on citizenship and playing an active role in society. The idea of Stoicism helped strengthen Rome. This is also kind of an idea that we have, where people should be active citizens and play an active role in society. We believe the same thing in the United States. And that's the end of our presentation. So hopefully this helped you all fill out those notes. Remember, they are due Friday, along with your I'm forgetting what they are. Frere squares also due on Friday. So I'll see you guys on the next class. Don't forget to start studying for your test next Tuesday and Wednesday.